Peace. What's good? Welcome to Hip Hop Album Review Part 35. It's gonna be a short one today. I'm gonna do another one right after this, so stay tuned. But before I start, I wanna give say rest in peace to Big L. I got both his studio albums. You know what I mean? I did a review on these. I just wanna pay my respects and shit like that. I kind of feel like Big O doesn't really get the recognition. Just like Tupac and Biggie and Big Pun and things of that nature. But he's definitely one of the greats. You know what I mean? I thought I'd just throw that out there. But I went digging today, and I bought sorry about that. And I bought a couple albums. So let's get it started. The first album of the day is DJ Kool's "Let Me Clear My Throat," released in 1996. For those who don't know who DJ Kool is, he's a DJ slash rapper who is from DC, Washington DC. He's known for that song "Let Me Clear My Throat," using the 45 King sample, the beat that the 900 number, but he uses that beat, that instrumental for his song "Let Me Clear My Throat." And this is the album. This is considered his most successful album to date, and there's nothing to it. You know what I mean? Like, the album's okay. It's not that great. It would have to be like this type of album that you play for like parties and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's not something that you would just like pop on your ride and shit like that. You just if you're a DJ, you just pop this in. Like, if you're having like an old school night. If you're playing like straight 90s shit, you definitely pop this in and, definitely rock out, you know what I mean? But this is DJ Kool, "Let Me Clear My Throat," released in 1996. Sounds actually out of print, so if you can find it, go copy it. Next album is Queen Latifah's third album, "Black Rain," released in 1993. I did a review on her fourth album, Order in the Court. I forgot which one, but I did that review a while back. The album wasn't really that successful, but this album is. This is actually her most successful album to date, as far as like her whole career. My opinion, her best album. The beats were on point, things of that nature. If you're a fan of Heavy D's Blue Funk album, you would definitely enjoy this album. Cause you got people like Tony Dofat and cats like that, that was doing production on his Heavy D's Blue Funk album. Like, some of the beats were like handled by him, and Tony Dofat, like the shit that he was doing back in '92, '93, when he was doing for Rough House Survivors and cats like that. You know what I mean? Like, his style of beats back then. But you would definitely enjoy this album. Singles this album was known for Black Hand Side, Rough, Just Another Day, UNITY was like her biggest single, and Weekend Love. Pretty solid album. This is actually my favorite album from Queen Latifah. If you don't have this in your collection, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, every hip hop head should own this album. Yeah, she definitely, the beats that she chose was like definitely like on point. You know what I mean? It screams 1993, but in a good way, of course. You know what I mean? But this is Queen Latifah, "Black Rain," released in 1993. Definitely a must copy if you can find it, because I believe it's actually out of print. So go copy. If you're a Queen Latifah fan, if you're a fan of early 90s hip hop, you're a fan of the whole Flavor Unit, that whole movement that they had back then. Rest in peace, Apache, by the way. You're a fan of that movement. You're a fan of Queen Latifah, like I said. Fan of early 90s hip hop. You're a fan of Naughty by Nature. Definitely cop this album. If you're a fan of hip hop at all, 90s hip hop, must cop. Guaranteed. You would definitely enjoy this album. Take it from me. Next album is Wyclef Jean's Ecelftic album, released in 2000. to boil it down, I already did a review of his debut album, The Carnival, which I believe was his best album. Um, when this album first came out, I kind of slept on it. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of feel like this album was actually very underrated. Um, it's underrated, it's slept on, but it has a couple of hot joints though. It got a couple bangers. It's definitely not as successful as the Carnival album, but this is definitely, if you're a fan of Wyclef Jean, you're a fan of the Fugees, you should definitely own this album. The singles this album is known for are what are the singles? Give me 1 second. 911, which was big back in the day. It Doesn't Matter with The Rock, that was pretty big back in 2000. And it's crazy because after 2000, that song was like kind of like it had like that one hit wonder type feel to it. You know what I mean? Like if you hear it today, it's kind of cheesy, but hearing it earlier, it was kind of like it brought me back to my eighth, when I was back in 8th grade and shit like that. When I was still living in New York at the time. Thug Angels and Perfect Gentleman. What's interesting about this album is track 14, However You Want It. Well, that song, he's actually going after Cannabis, because if you remember, Cannabis, his first album, Can I Bust, he was on Universal Records, and he was put on by Wyclef Jean, and you guys know the whole deal with Wyclef Jean and Cannabis. Like they had that whole beef going on because Cannabis felt like Wyclef Jean was a bad businessman, and let's keep it real, he was. I mean, look what happened. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of other shit that Wyclef Jean's done that's kind of like shady. I mean, not to shit on Wyclef Jean, but great artist, but a bad businessman. Like, let's just keep it real. It's just a fact. It's just like based on what you see on what you hear from other artists themselves and stuff like that. But that's nothing to take away from this album. But I just throw that out there for you. But yeah, if you can find this album, because actually this album was actually out of print. But definitely, if you're a fan of Wyclef Jean, definitely should pick this up. This is Wyclef Jean, excuse me, Ecelftic, released in 2000. This album was actually out of print, so if you can find it, go copy it. The next album, that's Black Milk's Long Story Short, off his second album, The Tronic. Dope album, must have, and his best album in my opinion. Next album is Ludacris's first studio debut album, released in 2000. If you guys don't know who Ludacris is, go on Wikipedia. I'm not gonna explain who he is, but definitely this is a dope album. He was fresh from the game. He just got his start back in the late 90s and things of that nature. He was buzzing up in the underground back in the mid to late 90s, and then ATL's underground circuit, and then he released this album. Singles this album was known for, it only came out with 2 singles. What's Your Fantasy and Southern Hospitality, excuse me. That song, Southern Hospitality, was so big, back then. And Ho, even though Ho was, I guess Ho was a single, but it was like more of an underground single, but it was very known for, like, everyone was singing that song back in the day. All my peoples that grew up around that era, like in 2000, I was going to high school or going to elementary school or junior high school around like 2000, 2001. You guys, all my viewers that, was like in a pre-teens, like teen, or even high school, you guys will know about that song Ho, you know what I mean? Like, that song was so big, like, you had cats, reciting the lyrics to that song, like, all over school. Yeah, use a hoe, like, even Hot 97 used to play it. So, And that's one thing I used to like about Hot 97. Like they would play like album cuts, even though they weren't the singles, but they would make them the singles, which I kind of miss because you don't really get that from Hot 97 anymore. But that's a whole different story for another day. But what's interesting about this album, he had released the album back in '98 called Incognito. Like I said, released in 98, which is practically the same album as this, except that I think there was like 3 songs that was there was 3 songs that they that was on the Incognito album that they took off to put on this album. Excuse me, that wasn't included in the album. It was only included in the Incognito. And when he made this album, those 3 songs were not on this album. They didn't put it on the album. It's on the Incognito. If I can find those songs, I'll post down a link in the description box. I thought I just mention that little gem that you guys should know or whatnot. It sold well. Definitely one of his best albums. Ludacris, I feel like, is very underrated. He's an underrated lyricist. I'm not feeling the shit that he's putting out now. He's putting out a lot of bullshit, a lot of, club songs and shit like that, But I guess you gotta make money, but still, be a fucking lyricist. Make your battle tracks too. Like, have a balance is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? But this is Ludacris back for the first time, released in 2000. Then the last album I'm gonna do for this review, and then after this, after I finish uploading, I'm gonna continue with another one, and that'll be it. Is the Beatnuts Take It or Squeeze It? This is their. Let me see. This is, I think, their 4th or 5th album, whatnot. Full length, I should say, because they put out like a couple of EPs and stuff like that. But again, Take It or Squeeze It, released in 2001. This is a comeback. This album's okay. It's not bad. It's a good album. It's a dope album. But it's not their most successful album. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people's complaining like the album. It wasn't reminiscent of the early Beatnuts, you know what I mean? But if you guys are fans of A Musical Massacre, you will definitely enjoy this album. Although I kind of feel like A Musical Massacre, which I don't have in my collection, but I did hear it years ago. I was not a big fan of that album. When they came out with that song, Watch Out Now, I was not a big fan of that album. This album is pretty dope. The singles I was known for No Escaping This and Let's Get It Though. Although Let's Get It Though wasn't as successful as No Escaping This. Let's Get It Though, I remember hearing it on Hot 97 a lot, but I don't think you heard it outside of New York, you know what I mean? Definitely a dope album. Very overlooked in my opinion. It's not their best album, but it's a dope album nonetheless. If you're a fan of Beatnuts, you would definitely enjoy this album. To me, this is like the last good album they put out, because the later albums like Find Me, I think that's what it's called. Let me check. Milk Me, excuse me. The last song they put out, like Milk Me, I wasn't a big fan of that album either. Had a couple of dope songs, but I wasn't a big fan of that. But this is the Beatnuts Take It or Squeeze It, released in 2001. This album is actually out of print, so you can find it, go copy it. Oh, and a disclaimer, I know some of you guys have been posting comments saying request me albums and stuff like that. I appreciate that, but some of those albums I don't have in my collection, and you guys have to bear with me because like where I live, the CD selections over here where I live suck ass, you know what I mean? It's like I have to actually scour the dungeons of Florida just to get certain albums, you know what I mean? Like they don't really have good tastes in music, so you know what I mean? So you just gotta have to bear with me. I thought I'd just throw that out there. But hope you guys enjoyed that review. Stay tuned for another one. Peace.